Hey guys, welcome back to Worth Guitars. Welcome back to the I started to say website because I just did a video for the website. So hold on, let me try that again. Hey guys, welcome back to Worth Guitars. Welcome to another beautiful day here in Suffolk, Virginia. So you saw in the last video where I started putting on the binding, and basically putting on binding is exactly the same thing happening 4 times. So I didn't video all of it. You get the idea of how it works, I'm sure. So all of the binding is on, and this is what it looks like. Looking good. We got it all across the end cap and across the top here. We got a gap there because it doesn't matter, neck goes there. So what I need to do now is finish scraping it. I started scraping it. I like to use one of these cabinet scrapers to get it down flush to the surface of the mahogany or the rosewood, whichever the case may be. And notice that my scraper was getting really dull, so I decided to stop and sharpen it, and I thought that maybe you guys would like to see how I sharpen a scraper, because these are great tools for scraping down wood surface level and clean and smooth without having to do a lot of sanding. So I thought I would just work through that process. But before I do, I would just like to say thank you guys very much for subscribing. We've got a bunch of new subscribers. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching what we do here, and watching my videos and hitting the like button. I appreciate that. If you haven't already, think about subscribing and maybe share it with a friend. Don't hesitate to drop a comment, okay? Because we love to talk about guitars and building, woodworking, whatever, you know? All right, so let's get into sharpening a scraper. I like to use these more flexible scrapers, especially when doing a flat board, because you can really dig in, because you can bend and get in with your thumbs and really get in there and start taking off some material if your scraper is sharp. So I'm going to run through the way I sharpen the scraper. Now, a lot of people do it a different way. You know, everybody has their way of doing things. This is the way I do it, and it's worked for me very well over the past 40 years of woodworking. So I'm going to stick with it. Okay, so first of all, very first thing you want to do is make the edge of your scraper clean and flat and smooth. And the best way to do that to start out is with a very nice sharp file. Like this mill bastard. This size right here works great. I always wondered why they call it a mill bastard. And what I do immediately to knock any excess or old edge that may be there off is I just go flat across like this, holding it flat on the bench, and I just knock all of that back off. I found this is the fastest way to do it. This just knocks off any of the old edge, and make sure that your scraper is good and flat on both faces. You don't want to feel any of the burr left on any side of the scraper. You want that to be smooth right there. There's a little bit left right there. Just like that. Okay, then I take a stone like this one. This isn't really a stone, this is a diamond grit. And all of the feet have fallen off except for this one, so I might as well take that one off too. So it'll sit flat. And then just go back and forth on here. Put it on here so it don't slip around. You just want to go back and forth on all of the faces, making sure that's smooth and flat. Just like that. Then I go over to a vise and use the file again to flatten this edge to make sure it's perfectly straight and flat and smooth as well. I'll get you a little closer so you can see. Hold on. This kind of vise works great for this. Put it in your vise, and a file will cut in one direction only. This type of file will only cut in one direction. Now you can hold your fingers like this to make sure you go flat and straight, and just go slowly. You don't want it to chatter. You just want to take nice smooth cuts, just like that. Now a file will also cut in this direction, going this way, because you're coming across the teeth at a skew angle. I find that this way is a little bit easier for taking aggressive cuts, and you can hold it really nice and flat. And as you can see, and you see the shavings, as you can see, it cuts very aggressively in that direction. So the teeth of the file are now cutting at a skew angle across the steel, and it cuts, it seems to me, more aggressively in that way. So I always go a few, and you can also really get an idea of whether you're at a 90-degree angle on your scraper, which is very important for getting them really sharp. And you can hold your hand this way, and you can also use both hands. You just go nice and slow. You don't have to go fast. We're not in a hurry. We're just making clean cuts. And you just take this right straight across there like this. See how much steel it took off of that? That's crazy, isn't it? All right, so that's that side. And you got to be careful when you're doing this. Don't rub your eyes or anything, because these little tiny little steel pieces, eyes do not like them. Ask me how I know that. All right. So you want to get all that off of there, and you want to make sure you keep your hands clean. And don't rub your face when you're doing this. So that's nice and flat across there now and clean. And we'll make it even better over on the stone. So we're going to do this side too. Just bang your file a little bit, knock off the shavings. And let me get up a little bit higher here so I can make sure I can get my hands under it. Holding the file like this. Looking back, making sure that you're staying flat and straight. Just like that. And you're taking off some steel. You can tell when it starts to get clogged because it drags. So then you need to move or unclog your file. You can also use a toothbrush or a wire brush to make sure your file isn't getting clogged up. Because that, once it starts to chatter, you're no longer cutting flat anymore. Now you're putting little dents in the edge. And it'll cut okay for a little while, but the cleaner you make this edge right here, the smoother your scraping edge will be, and it'll last longer. And that's what you want. You don't want to have to constantly keep doing this. A couple of times is all you need. That looks pretty good, but I can see where it skipped, so I'm going to come back and hit it one more time. Nice and slow. Let the tool do the work. You don't have to force it. It'll cut it. All you got to do is hold it on there and put a little bit of down pressure on it. And it'll cut very nicely, very aggressively. All right. Clean your file back up. Make sure you don't have any more on your hands. Okay, now we got that edge smooth and clean. Now we're going to make it even better over here on the stone. Let me move you around. Now I like to use this really fine diamond stone right here for doing this. And I put a little bit of water on there, and I even use a piece of wood to hold me square to it. You can also use a rubber block like this, because you really want to make sure that you stay at a 90-degree angle to that edge right there. That's important. It needs to be 90 degrees. All right, so you put a little bit of water on here, so it doesn't load up so fast. And then we can get that edge right. And you just want to hold this nice and square to this block. And we're getting that edge really clean and smooth. That's what we want. And you should be able to see it starting to shine, and you hold it in the light the right way. You get a nice clean edge there. Nice and square and flat. That looks good. All right, clean that up. We'll move on to the next procedure. We're almost there now. Move these out of the way here. Now the next thing we want to do now that you've got your cabinet scraper square to the edge and flat and clean, you have a nice clean edge there. Now you want to start rolling over this edge to create the burr that makes a scraper cut. And hold on one second, I'll show you what I mean. Let me get out a visual aid. So hang on one second. So this is our scraper and its edge, okay? That's the top edge of this scraper right here. And it's nice and square and flat across the top edge. All right, like that. But what we want is, looking at the very end, if we were to look at the very end of the scraper, is we want to see this. We want to roll over that edge. And you guys see that okay? Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing here because I can't see it. We want to roll over that top edge so that we create a burr right there off of this edge. Okay? So what we want to do that is, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. I bought this tool, and I can't remember who I bought it from. Hang on one second. Actually, I may. It is... Nope. It's called a burr. C-A-R-B-U-R. There are a couple different ways you can do this. You can hold it on the edge like this of a workbench, and using the rounded over edge of this tool, you can start here like this and pull it towards you, trying to stay 90 degrees to the edge. Now you're starting to round over that top edge. Just like that. You should, after you do that, be able to feel a little bit of that edge starting to roll over. Okay? And that works pretty good, but I actually like using the square or diamond point edge that they have right here to do it, to get a more aggressive cut. I wish I could show that a little better. Very bad lighting. I'll get a better picture of it and put it on there for you. So using that one, you can really get aggressive by starting at like 5-degree angle and pulling it towards you, and then slowly rolling it over. And that gives you a pretty aggressive burr right there to cut with. Let's see how well it cuts. Hang on. This edge still got a bunch of glue and some funky stuff on it we want to scrape off of there. Now using the one we just did, tighten that up a little bit. You can see that cuts pretty well. See how it's cutting that off of there? But it can be even better. But that's cutting pretty well. See how it's taking that black off? That's what we want. Now that's much easier to do than sanding, and you don't have to breathe it. This won't go up your nose quite as well as sawdust, right? Let me get you a little closer so you can see that. See how aggressively that cuts that off of there? That's a lot easier than sanding. Just like that. All right, but there's another way to do this. Let me show you how I do it the other way. The other way to get an edge on your scraper. See, I've got this edge. I'm going to do this one. Is to use a really nice piece of steel round rod like this. These snap-on screwdrivers have really nice steel rods here. And in theory, what you're doing now is rolling out the steel. And you can put a lot of weight down on it like this. And the reason I use a really good screwdriver like this is because it doesn't dig in. This steel is actually harder than this steel. So it doesn't dig into it at all. And you start to roll over a really nice edge. And you can get really aggressive on the rolling over. It actually works better to go this way. You start at about a 5-degree angle and come across. 1, 2, and then roll it over a little more, maybe 10 degrees. 1, 2, like that. Now you have a really nice sharp edge right there. I'll show you how well that one cuts. Okay, this is the new edge. Well, you can hear it digging in, pulling that material off. And as you start getting flat to the surface, it'll start obviously cutting less off of this. That's where you know you're flush to your mahogany, or your side, I should say. Just like that. That's looking good. See which one cuts better, that one or this one? About the same. I just think it's a little easier to do it the way with the screwdriver. see how aggressive you can get if you want to. You can really dig in. And now that's nice and flush and smooth right there. And that's not going to take nearly as much sanding, which, as I've said before, is not my favorite thing in the world to do. Sanding is boring and dusty and hard on your nose and lungs. You can also pull it like this. This ebony is very hard. Trying to get a little bit of glue I see right here out of the grain. But you can see it's also scraping the mahogany. You can see it's starting to shine. That's what a scraped looks like as opposed to sanded. A little bit easier on your wrist if you pull it. As you get old, it starts to hurt right there. Okay, so that's it. Now all we gotta do is finish scraping it. That's cutting really well right there. I'm getting two sides cut at once now. All right, I have to stop and take a break because it hurts my thumb. And then that is very easily sanded now, and you can see how much better and cleaner that detail looks right there when you zoom in on it. You really get a good look at that white, black, white detail along that edge. See how that wood actually starts to shine? Pretty, isn't it? I'm taking all the scratches from the sander out of it. Nice. That's working good. Okay, so we got a little more of this to do, and then we can sand all of these sides and get this baby ready to go. The next video will be going into the neck jig. We have the neck made, so what we need to do next is cut it exactly where we want it to cut at the correct bevel, and I'll show you how we set that up in the next video. This is just a quick video today to show you how to sharpen your scraper. I'm going to go ahead and do this one side one more time using the method that I like. This thing is okay, and it's really better to me. This burr tool actually works better to bring an edge back up than it does to actually sharpen it. To me, it seems a little intimidating, or not intimidating, that's not the word I was trying to say, actually the opposite of that. This seems a little timid where when you're trying to roll over a piece of steel, you need to put some, some ass into it. You know what I mean? So let me show you one more time how I do this on this side, and we're off to the races, man. I'm going to do some more scraping. All right. First thing we want to do is go straight back, flat, pushing down nice and hard, putting some weight against it. Then we want to go 5-degree bevel, straight back, twice, if you can. I'm going to go ahead and do both edges. And then a little steeper. You actually want to kind of see the edge bend when you do it. That way you know you're moving it. Like that. And now I got a really nice sharp edge right there. Nice sharp burr for cutting with. We'll try a new place and see how that one worked out. And sometimes I have to go back and touch them up a little bit, but for the most part it works really well. Oh yeah, that's cutting real well. You see how that just cuts right off of there. And if you bend it a little like this, it'll really cut aggressively then. Put a little bit of a bend in it, come in at a skew angle, and it'll really move some wood out of the way. Okay, I'm going to finish scraping that up and get it ready to go in the neck jig. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Get yourself a scraper. Try this out. Works extremely well. They sell them everywhere, online, of course. Woodworker supply stores, any place that sells woodworking tools, you'll be good to go. Okay? I hope that works out for you guys. All right? Have a good one out there. Be good to each other out there. We'll see you out there somewhere. Peace. Worth Guitars. Bye now.